The glow of the setting sun bathed Ethan Carter's sleek office in hues of amber and gold, casting long shadows over the Manhattan skyline. The floor-to-ceiling windows reflected his tall frame as he straightened his tie for what felt like the 100th time. On his polished mahogany desk lay the divorce papers, their presence as heavy as the secret Ethan had been carrying for the past 18 months. He stared at the papers, his chest tightening. In just a few hours, his marriage to Mia Robinson, a decade of shared dreams, laughter, and struggles, would officially come to an end. It was what he thought he wanted, or rather, what he thought she deserved. Yet, the weight in his chest told a different story. A soft knock at the door broke his reverie. When he turned, there she was. Mia, dressed in a simple yet striking blue dress, she stood in the doorway, her expression calm but her dark eyes betraying the turmoil beneath. Ethan's breath caught. Even now, with their relationship in ruins, she was effortlessly captivating. "You're early," Ethan said, his voice softer than he intended. "You're late," Mia replied, stepping into the office with the quiet confidence that had first drawn him to her years ago. "But then again, you've always been late when it matters." Ethan glanced at his watch. 7:22 p.m. She was right, as always. Before he could offer an excuse, Mia crossed the room, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Her fingers brushed the edge of the divorce papers, but she didn't look down. Instead, she met his gaze, her voice steady, yet tinged with vulnerability. "Before we sign anything," she said, "I have one last request. I want us to spend one final night together." Ethan stared at Mia for a long moment, trying to decipher the true intent behind her unexpected request. "One last night?" he asked, his voice laced with skepticism. Mia nodded softly, stepping closer, her gaze unwavering yet tender. "Yes. No lawyers, no papers, no grievances. Just you and me, remembering what we once had. And maybe—" Facing the truth, her words hit Ethan like a wave, making him feel as though the ground beneath him had shifted. "And if I say no?" he asked, trying to mask the turmoil rising in his chest. "Then tomorrow we'll just be two strangers signing divorce papers," Mia replied, her tone gentle yet resolute. "But we deserve more than that, Ethan. We were a team once, remember?" The words "we were" clenched around Ethan's heart like a vice. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Fine. But if we're doing this, you have to agree to one condition. Honesty. No secrets, no hiding. You have to know everything." Mia blinked, momentarily surprised by Ethan's sudden agreement. Then, a slow smile spread across her face, a bittersweet smile that carried years of longing. "Everything," she repeated, holding out her hand. Ethan took her hand, feeling the warmth of her palm, a familiar sensation he thought he'd lost forever. "All right," he said, his voice steadier now. "So, where do we start?" Mia's grip tightened slightly, her eyes glimmering with something between hope and nostalgia. "First, we leave this office," she said, glancing pointedly at the divorce papers sitting on his desk. "Then, we remember how to be us again, even if it's just for one night." Ethan followed her out of the office, leaving the unsigned papers behind. He knew that tonight would change everything. The atmosphere in the small restaurant, where Mia and Ethan had shared some of their earliest dates, was painfully familiar. The soft glow of candlelight danced across the table, evoking memories of laughter and endless conversations. But tonight, the air between them was heavy. Mia offered a faint smile as the server placed their favorite dessert in front of her, a rich chocolate cake she always adored. "Do you remember this place?" she asked, her voice gentle but layered with emotion. "Of course I do," Ethan replied, trying to keep his tone even, but inside he felt as though he was being crushed by the weight of the secret he was about to reveal. Mia set her fork down deliberately, her hands trembling slightly as she locked eyes with him. Her gaze carried a quiet determination, like she was peeling back the layers of his carefully guarded walls. "Ethan," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I need to understand. Why did you change? Why did you push me away?" Her words sliced through him like a knife. Ethan leaned back in his chair, taking a shaky breath. "You want the truth?" he asked, his voice trembling. Yes, Mia said firmly, her eyes never leaving his. Ethan lowered his head, unable to meet her gaze. I was diagnosed with cancer, Mia, he said, the confession spilling out like a dam breaking. The world seemed to go silent. Mia's face froze in shock. Cancer, she echoed, her voice breaking. When? 18 months ago, Ethan admitted. It's brain cancer, stage 3. I didn't want you to go through the pain of losing someone else. After everything you've already endured with your family, I couldn't put you through that again. For a moment, Mia was silent, processing his words. When she finally spoke, her tone was different, sharper, stronger. You thought you were protecting me by hiding this? You thought I'd want to leave you when you needed me the most? I didn't want to burden you, Ethan said quietly. I thought if you hated me, it would be easier for you to move on. Tears spilled down Mia's cheeks, but her eyes burned with anger and hurt. You didn't give me a choice, Ethan, she said, her voice shaking but resolute. Love isn't about shielding each other from pain. It's about facing it together, even when it's unbearable. She stood abruptly, the chair scraping softly against the floor. I need some air, she said, and walked away from the table, leaving Ethan alone, feeling as though his heart was breaking into pieces. Ethan found Mia at a small park near the restaurant, a place they used to visit often in the early days of their relationship. She stood by the stone railing, the soft glow of the streetlights casting her silhouette against the night. Ethan hesitated for a moment before approaching, her coat draped over his arm. You'll catch a cold, he said gently, slipping the coat over her shoulders. Mia didn't turn at first, her voice steady but tinged with bitterness. It's ironic, isn't it? You worry about me catching a cold, but you hid an illness that could have taken you away from me forever. Ethan swallowed hard, trying to steady his breathing. I know, he admitted. I was wrong, Mia, but I didn't know what else to do. I just didn't want you to go through more pain. This time, Mia turned to face him, tears glistening on her cheeks. Do you think I'm so fragile that I couldn't face this? She asked, stepping closer. Her voice was firm, almost fierce. You don't get it, Ethan. I lost my parents, I lost my brother. But the one thing I can't bear is you making all the decisions without giving me a choice. I was scared, Ethan said, his voice breaking. Not of dying, but of making you watch it happen, of hurting you. Mia looked into his eyes, a mixture of sorrow and determination reflected in her own. Love isn't about protecting each other by hiding the truth, Ethan. It's about standing together in the storm and refusing to let go. If you thought I wasn't strong enough, then you were wrong. Ethan felt the walls he'd built around himself crumble completely. He took a deep breath, looking at Mia with newfound gratitude. I don't know if you can ever forgive me, he said softly. I don't need to forgive you, Mia replied. I need us to fight this together. No more secrets, Ethan. You don't have to do this alone. 3 days later, Ethan and Mia walked into his doctor's office at the medical center. Mia sat beside Ethan, a notebook in her hands filled with questions she'd written after carefully researching his condition. Ethan glanced at her, a quiet sense of gratitude swelling in his chest. Are you okay? Mia whispered, her eyes soft but watchful. Ethan nodded, though his palms were still damp with sweat. I'm better with you here, he admitted, feeling for the first time that he wasn't alone in this fight. Dr. Chen entered the room, carrying a folder and wearing a warm smile. Ethan, Mia, it's great to see both of you today, she said. Let's go over your recent progress. As the doctor began explaining the results, Mia quickly jotted down notes, asking questions Ethan had never even thought to consider. He sat silently, watching her in awe of her determination and strength. Doctor, Mia said, her tone confident, beyond treatment, are there ways to improve his quality of life during this phase? Her question made Ethan smile. In the weeks before, he had felt lost and directionless, but now he felt a glimmer of hope. When they left the office, hand in hand, Ethan turned to Mia and said, I never thought I deserved you. Mia looked at him, her smile gentle. You don't have to deserve me. We just have to try for each other. In the days that followed, Mia stood by Ethan's side through every step of his treatment. She wasn't just a wife. She became his partner, his caretaker, and his unwavering source of strength. Each morning, Mia woke earlier than usual to prepare a light breakfast for Ethan. Nutritious meals carefully planned to align with his treatment regimen. When the nausea and fatigue from his chemotherapy sessions hit, she was always there, holding his hand and whispering words of encouragement, her voice the only thing that could calm his restless mind. "You don't have to pretend you're fine with me," Mia would say softly whenever Ethan forced a brave smile. "Lean on me, Ethan. If you feel weak, I'll carry the strength for both of us." Ethan's strength waned with each passing day. The once manageable fatigue now left him confined to the couch for hours at a time, his breath shallow, his hands trembling. Yet, in the quiet moments, surrounded by Mia's unwavering care, he often found himself drifting back to memories of their happier days, the laughter they shared by the lake, the warmth of her hand in his. One evening, as Mia placed a blanket over his lap, he reached out, his voice faint but steady. "Mia," he said, meeting her gaze, "there's one place I'd like to go. One last time." In the evenings, they would sit together on the couch in the living room, the soft glow of the lamp casting a warm light around them. Mia would read aloud to Ethan, sometimes novels, sometimes articles she'd found about mental resilience during treatment. One night, Ethan said to her, "I never thought I could feel peace during days like these, but you make me believe that we're still living, not just surviving." Mia smiled, her hand gently squeezing his. "That's because we still have hope. Even the smallest spark of hope can light up the darkest days, Ethan." Though the road ahead was filled with challenges, Mia never let Ethan feel alone. She handled the practicalities of appointments, treatments, and daily routines, but more importantly, she made sure he felt her presence, her love, and her belief in him every step of the way. Through every difficult moment, Mia's care reminded Ethan that they were fighting together and that she would never let go, no matter what tomorrow might bring. 3 months later, Ethan and Mia stood on the rooftop of their apartment, the lights of Manhattan twinkling against the winter night. The air was cold and crisp, but neither of them seemed to notice. In Ethan's hand was a small velvet box, and the anticipation in his eyes was unmistakable. "I think it's time we start over," Ethan said, his voice warm but slightly unsteady. Mia looked at him, surprise flickering across her face before a soft smile curved her lips. "Start over?" she asked. Ethan opened the box, revealing 2 simple platinum bands. They were their original wedding rings, cleaned and resized. "I thought it was time to put these back on. Not as a continuation of our old marriage, but as a symbol of the new one we're building." Mia gazed at the rings, her eyes glistening with tears. "Are you sure? We're still figuring things out." "I'm more than sure," Ethan replied. 3 months ago, you asked me for one last night, but you gave me more than that. You gave me a reason to fight, a future to hope for, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of it." Mia smiled, holding out her left hand. "I agree, Ethan," she said. "Today, tomorrow, and always." As Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, they both felt as though they were writing a new chapter. A chapter filled with love, hope, and resilience. As time passed, Ethan grew weaker. Each step became a challenge, each breath more labored. Yet, he carried one final wish in his heart, to spend a day with Mia at the lake, where they had made so many beautiful memories. One crisp autumn morning, Ethan watched Mia as she made tea in the kitchen. His voice was soft but resolute. "Can you take me to the lake just one more time?" Mia looked up, worry flashing in her eyes, but she understood his wish. "Of course, Ethan," she said, her voice steady despite the ache in her chest. They arrived at the lake in the late afternoon. The water shimmered under the golden sunlight, and leaves in hues of red and orange floated gently on the surface. The scene was serene, yet tinged with an air of finality. Ethan sat on an old wooden bench, his hands trembling as he tried to steady his breathing. Mia sat beside him, her hand gripping his tightly, as though letting go would mean losing him forever. "Mia," Ethan began, his voice frail, yet brimming with gratitude. "Thank you for never giving up on me. Even when I tried to push you away, you stayed. You gave me more than I ever deserved." Mia smiled through the tears that silently fell down her cheeks. "I promised you, Ethan. Love isn't just about being together in the good days, it's about standing by each other through the worst. The lake stretched before them, its calm surface mirroring the golden hues of the setting sun. Ethan's breath grew slower, his shoulders slumping as he leaned back on the bench. Mia watched him quietly, her heart aching as she noticed the way his hand trembled in hers, the way his once strong posture had softened into frailty. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to spill. "I'm here. You don't have to say anything more." He leaned his head on her shoulder, a small smile flickering across his lips. "I love you, Mia," he murmured, his voice barely audible now. "Thank you. For everything." Mia felt his final breath leave him, his body growing still in her embrace. She didn't cry out, she just held him tightly, as though to freeze the moment in time. As Ethan's breath faded, Mia closed her eyes, letting the memories wash over her like waves on the lake's shore. She saw him laughing on their wedding day, felt the warmth of his hand as they danced under fairy lights, and heard his voice, steady and comforting as he read to her during long nights. Even in his absence, he would remain a part of her, etched into every moment they had shared. The sun dipped lower on the horizon, its light casting a soft glow over their intertwined silhouettes. The gentle breeze carried with it the whispers of the lake, as if nature itself was mourning Ethan's passing. The leaves rustled softly, their colors fading into twilight, while the water mirrored the golden hues of the departing sun. For a moment, Mia felt as though the world stood still, holding its breath, to honor the man she loved. The quiet was broken only by the gentle rustle of leaves and the whisper of the lake, as if nature itself was mourning Ethan's passing. Mia kissed the top of his head, her voice trembling with unspoken grief. "You'll always be my love," she whispered,